Hey everybody, Kev Smith here, back to answer your questions. That haunting voice you hear from off camera is Mr. Jason Mewes. Hit me with some questions, Mewes.
Sia Richmond, how much research do you do?
Sia Richmond, is that the name?
S.I. Richmond.
Cy Richmond.
Cy Richmond.
C.Y. Richmond says, how do you say my name? Cy. Anyway, what does Cy ask?
He says, how much research do you do before you write a script?
Well, S.Y., let me tell you. Cy, it's like this. I don't do any real research on the other stuff. Like if you look at the early View Askew movies, what's to research? I just pulled that shit out of my life. I live the research. If you look at something like Hit Somebody, which you can't because it's not made yet, that's me having to do a lot of research because the period piece takes place from 1950 to 1980. And I remember 10 of those years, not incredibly well because I was born in 1970, but the previous 20 I wasn't around for. So I definitely had to go look up, read stuff and blah, blah, blah. So it depends on what it is, but the earlier stuff is so based and mired in my own life, I didn't have to research it. It just came out of my existence. That was kind of easy. It was a precursor for the podcast. If the podcasts are about me sitting around talking about my life, the films were a kind of masked version of me talking about my life. Way more expensive version of doing a podcast. That's what I think of as film now. I'm like, film? Oh, that's that, a very expensive art form that's kind of like podcasting, but with pictures.
From Peter, when will we get to see Jay and Silent Bob in another movie?
Oh, well, Peter, you ask a very wise question that just Jason Mewes has been asking me for the last 10 years. When are we going to see another Jay and Silent Bob movies? Actually, he goes, when can I be in another Jay and Silent Bob moves? We got one coming up this year. Old Jason Mewes himself, he got tired of asking, when can I be in those Jay and Silent Bob moves? And he just went off and made one, a cartoon movie called Jay and Silent Bob, super groovy cartoon movie. It's a mixture of 2D animation with our boy Steve Stark, who does our Smodco's Morning Show animations over at smodcast.com, Smodco Cartoon Show animations over at smodcast.com. And it's a mixture of 2D and then 3D. So me and homie are going to put the costumes back on. I haven't done that in a while, since Clerks 2. And interact with our cartoon universe. Should be very, very fun. And then we're going to take that on the road, tour it like we did with Red State, man. Because fuck giving a movie to anyone else anymore. That's ridiculous. I know what I'm doing now. 20 years in this business, you start to learn what you're doing, man. And that's not cocky, that's confidence. You get to a point where I've always been like, I'm an idiot at this kind of stuff. But you do it long enough and even an idiot gets better at it. So we figured out how to better take our stuff to the audience that likes it, rather than like, hey man, let's just put it in movie theaters everywhere, cast a wide net and hope all of America shows up. We now go out into the world with the movie, show the movie, and then stand there afterwards, chit chat about it, record that, make it a podcast. It just never ends. You become part of the movie experience.
Dustin Mills, do you think self-distribution is a viable option for a new filmmaker without a large established fan base?
Well, Dustin, let me put it like this. What's your other option? You know what I'm saying? Like guys going like, well, is it a viable option if I don't have your audience? So what are you going to do? Just sit in your house and be like, well, since I don't have Kevin's audience, I'm not going to try it at all. Just try it. Why not? Fucking self-distribution is an incredibly viable option. It's been going on for years. Even when we sold Clerks, there were people that were still self-distributing. There's a guy named Henry Jaglam, filmmaker maybe some of you never heard of, but I've always watched my entire career. I've watched his career in awe. This dude works for nobody but himself, makes his own fucking movies, has a billboard over on Sunset Boulevard. Whenever one comes out, he puts it right up in the same place. He services his audience. And some people, like I remember at Sundance, I said something about Henry Jaglam, and some crackpot bloggers like, Henry Jaglam, fucking, he's irrelevant. Never listen to anybody on a blog that tells you you're irrelevant, man, especially when you got like a #1 New York Times bestseller, which I didn't, but I was on the New York Times bestseller list. But it's crazy when motherfuckers tell you you're irrelevant. Don't listen to those fucking voices, man. If you're sitting there going like, wow, he can do it because he's got a fan base, then you're just sitting around, you're just giving yourself an excuse to not try shit. And if that's the conversation we're having, don't waste my time. Like if you don't want to try shit, don't ask me shit. But you're asking for an excuse to let you not try self-distribution just because I had an audience to begin with, it's not good enough, dude. You're not committed to the art form. I'm not just saying to this cat, I'm saying to anybody. Don't question. Like if you're sitting there wasting time going, should I try it because I don't have the same audience? You've just wasted a minute, 2 minutes of your life asking a question that you can answer yourself. And here's the answer to that question. Fuck fat Kev Smith. If this fat idiot can do it, I can certainly do it, man. It doesn't matter that we made some movies in the past and then took this movie, Red State, out on the road and self-distributed. It's going back to the grindstone. Once you don't have millions of dollars behind you, letting people know when the movie's coming out, It's up to you, man. Yeah, it's viable. It's how much noise you can make for a movie. We made as much noise as we possibly could in order to let people know that that Red State was coming out of Sundance, so that we didn't have to spend any money on marketing. That's the only thing. The biggest aspect of the Red State tour was like, we just want to take a movie out without spending to take the movie out, as per usual. So anybody could do that. Anybody could make a movie and not spend to release it. You don't have to be Kevin Smith to do that. It's how much attention you can bring to it, how many asses you can put in the seats. And that's up to you, man. Like, nose to the grindstone, go out and fill those auditoriums, or fill those 300 seaters or 200 seaters or 100 seaters or a 50 fucking seater. You get 50 people to show up, watch something you made, some self-expression of yours, that's amazing. The more you get, even better. But be happy getting any audience to show out. Anybody could do this, man. Didn't pull a sword from a fucking stone. I'm not King Arthur or anything like that. I was just a dude who was like, everyone else is making movies, why can't I, man? And I've seen people make good movies and bad movies. And I was like, well, if they're making bad movies, I can make a bad movie at least. I mean, might as well give it a shot. Give it a shot, man. Self-distribution, absolutely fucking viable. Absolutely viable. Look, if you've never done it before, of course you probably want somebody to buy the movie, because they'll dump a bunch of money on you and do all the work and stuff. But having done that and having done self-distribution, I'd always choose the latter, man. You like being in charge. You like being your own boss. You never want to work for some other asshole. As long as you can avoid working for somebody else, work with people, yes, don't work for people.
From Nick Henwoods, did you go right into Clerks after film school? How did you know you were ready?
Well, Nick, it's this simple, man. I couldn't even finish film school. I was so ready to go make a movie. I dropped out in the middle of it. Scott Mosier, Dave Caine, my producer and DP on Clerks, they stayed, finished their education, learned how to cut. I learned how to edit from Scott Mosier, who finished out his course. But me, I dropped out. I was like, you know what, man? I got to make Clerks. I don't want to sit around, have somebody tell me, or explain film theory, or tell me what Jonathan Demme was trying to say with Silence of the Lambs. Bullshit. I got my own theories on what Jonathan Demme was trying to say with Silence of the Lambs. And I'm going to put it in a movie. Like, I'd rather talk about it than talk about it in a classroom. Let's just talk about it in film, because that's what we do. We all sit around, you know, in my world and converse about pop culture and shit. So I was like, let's put that up on the screen, man. So you couldn't keep me from making Clerks. I knew I was ready before I even went to film school. I was ready the moment I saw Richard Linklater's Slacker. I saw that movie. I said, this counts. I think I could do this. And not in a negative, like, kind of insulting way. It just made it seem so easy. Suddenly, here was a guy who made a movie that wasn't based in Hollywood or New York. It didn't have any famous people, no car chases, no monsters, no special effects, no superheroes. That was later. Suddenly, this guy just made a movie about living in his little world. And it looked very inexpensive and looked kind of simple to do, didn't look very flashy. I'd read how much the budget was. It was under $50,000 and under $30,000, I believe. So at that point, I was like, shit, man, like, I can do this. If this dude could do this in Texas, I could do this in New Jersey. So that's how we got to it, man. You couldn't stop me from making Clerks. So no, I knew I was ready when I got out of film school. That's why I left film school. I was like, I'm too ready. I can't sit here anymore. I got to go make a movie. Hit me with another one, man. Rock me with the final question, the last Q&A question here on the Avid Kev Q&A page, which I'm presenting to you. Go ahead.
Michael Caine asks.
Michael Caine?
Yes, Michael Caine.
Famous people, bitch. They want to know my opinion. Go ahead. I'll tell you. Dark Knight is an amazing film.
How long did it take to write and film the original Clerks, and what was the most expensive part of getting that film made?
Look how inquisitive Michael Caine is. Even though he's been in hundreds of movies, he wants to know my process. Is this the real Michael Caine or a different one?
This is Michael Caine from Budapest.
Likely not the real Michael Caine. In any event, well, Michael Caine, you're still just as worthy of Michael Caine. You're a Michael Caine, not the Michael Caine. But today, right now, you're my Michael Caine. Directing it, or shooting it rather, I wrote it for 1 month, we rehearsed for 1 whole month at Quick Stop, and then when we actually sat down to shoot, we shot for 21 consecutive days in a row. We didn't have weekends or anything. We didn't know that you had to stop. We were just like, let's just go until the movie's done. So we did it in 21 consecutive, really nights, not so much days. I think there were 2 day shoots. One, the hockey game on the roof, and the other one, we go to the funeral parlor. The rest of it was predominantly shot at night from like 11 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning when the store was closed. So that's why, like, the steel shutters are closed. It was like, there's gum in the locks, horseshit. We just couldn't leave the windows open because it was dark out. So we found a way to write that into the screenplay to make sure that we could shoot in the dark of night. So it was a pretty easy process. The most expensive part of Clerks, though, hands down, I think would probably be getting the cat to shit on cue. That was difficult. We thought that would be way easier. We just kept the cat away from the cat's litter box. It was Vinny's cat, Lennon's tomb, my friend Vinny Prayer. His cat's name was Lennon's tomb. So we kept Lennon's tomb away from a litter box all day long. We thought the moment we put that cat box on the counter, magic would happen. So, you know, boom, we're action, set up the camera and stuff, put the box there. There's the gentleman who runs the First Avenue Playhouse, who plays that guy who's looking at the cat while he takes a shit. He comes in and we're rolling and we're all sitting behind the camera like, here comes the poop. We're gonna be rich. Cat wouldn't shit. Didn't shit at all, just sat there, looked at us, and then walked out of the box. And we were burning film, man, which like when you're a 21-year-old filmmaker and you're out putting all your supplies on credit cards and stuff like that, no buyer insight for the movie, we just wanted to skin that cat. We're like, you better shit, motherfucker, because we just burned a roll of film on you. So we went and talked to Vinny for a while, as if Vinny was going to do anything, as if Vinny was a cat expert. He was just like, I don't know. I kept him away from litter box all day. He should want to shit. I'm like, let's try it again. Went for a second take, man. As soon as that cat hit, all of a sudden you saw him do the pawn. And you were like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then he, you know, lifts up his back haunches. The tail goes up. And the little fucking asshole opened up like, ah. We were all staring at it and shit. And we were like, magic. And there it was. Cinema legend was born. Cat shitting on cue. I don't think I've seen it in another movie. Proud of that. Anyway, that's been Fun Time Q&A Hour, or 5 minutes or whatever, with Kev Smith, man. Thanks for stopping by. If you got more questions, send them over to Avid, and they'll shoot them my way. So until next time, bye-bye.